Let's go right back to the beginning, Andy. What's your earliest footballing memory?
Oh, as a kid or professionally?
As a kid, yeah.
I would say, I think my earliest defining memory was probably sitting watching the 1978 World Cup with my dad while my brother was being born. So my brother was born in '78, and I just remember as a 5 year old just sitting there watching the World Cup with my dad, and that was my earliest sort of memory of it. My earliest memory of playing with it was probably around about the same time, just always having a ball in my hand, putting it in bed, sleeping with it, taking it everywhere, trying to take it to school, all that sort of stuff. Really, I was never really ever from the age of probably earlier than that, but definitely after that, never without a ball on a pretty much on a daily basis. Really.
So when you were born, your dad Gary played. He played for Leeds United. Is
Yeah,
that the team you supported when you grew up? Was you are you a Leeds fan?
yeah. I was born there. My father played for him. My mother was born there. My dad was born in Scotland, obviously, and came down from Scotland when he was 16, 17 to play for Leeds with a lot of Scottish guys were down there at the time. He was one of the younger ones, but Billy Bremner, Eddie Gray, Frank Gray, Peter Lorimer. I mean, the list is endless. So he had some real good players. And my dad obviously couldn't break into that team because not many people could. So he played a few times and then went and played elsewhere. But yeah, but I'd say Leeds fan. Sort of, yes, I would say I'm a Leeds fan, but without going to every game because I don't. And then when you get into the professional world and you play, obviously you see the results from afar, and you always that's the first result I look for, and I always hope they do well. I have a few friends that have played for them as well, and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's I would say if you say which team you support, yes, but it's not a regular fan experience when I go every week because I can't say I do because I don't.
Of course. What's that like? I mean, I recently saw an interview. There was a clip, Gary Neville and Roy Keane talking about. Gary was asking Roy, "Do you support Man United? You always look for the results." He said, "No, I played for them, but that's about it. You know, it's not going to ruin my weekend if they don't win at the weekend." Same for Forest, same for Celtic, who Roy played for. For you, did you get an affinity with a club that you played for that you can say you support them as such now?
I think that the team you support, you have to be very careful when you say, "I will support that team." My definition of supporting a team is going to the games every week, at least the home games, probably some away games, and then obviously if you're lucky enough to have a family, a son or a daughter, going with those, and it's a real match day experience. So I don't support any team as in that experience. I don't. I mean, my local team is the team I go to. I take my son to go and watch. I live in Altrincham now, so I go around the corner. I can literally walk to Altrincham. So I walk to watch them and hope that they win. But I wouldn't say I supported them. But I know what he means. I can understand what Roy means. But I think the biggest affinity that I had with the club was probably. I mean, I grew up at Barnsley. I became a footballer at Barnsley. But the best football of my career was played at Wigan. So to say you're a Wigan supporter means you go every week. I don't go every week, but all the clubs that I played for, particularly those two, and Wigan. Well, no, probably all the clubs I've played for actually. Rotherham was different because I hardly played for them because I was pretty old by then and I'd had an operation and it was a difficult time. But my other teams, even Sheffield United, I was only there for a year, but I have an affinity with the club because I played for them. So it's a huge club. But yeah, Wigan because I played my best football there, and I would say that I enjoyed my football best there, and we had a lot of success. So I would say yes. But if you come down and say, "Oh, you were Wigan supporter, Andy," "Oh, you were Barnsley supporter, Andy," because you played for them, you're not because you don't go every week. So I can understand what he's saying, but I think Roy likes to say things for effect anyway. Doesn't he? Is a bit of a the controversy. Controversy is clickbait, and if you've got a bit of controversy, people clickbait and people click you more. So, see what Roy said. Some of the stuff he says. Come on.
That's it. It's clickbait sales, as they say, controversy sales.
Mm.
Take me back. What's the first game you ever attended?
Oh, I think I'm right in saying first game. It was definitely a Leeds match, and it was. No, I think I attended some first game unattended as a lad. I mean, I used to go to the Grimsby matches with my mother because my father played for Grimsby. Gary played for Grimsby, so I used to go there with my mum. I don't really remember that much about them, but I remember going to Leeds for the first time, Twelham Road for the first time by myself with my mates on the X2 on the bus, and that was a big deal because back in the day when I was started going, it was a lot of violence at games. A lot of hooligans were still knocking about, and it was a bit more not unsafe. It's not the right word, but it was a bit more of a, you're a kid. 12, 13, your dad's let you go to the game for the first time because he was very reticent to let me go with my mates until I was old enough to go because it wasn't a great place to go through the town centre at that time. Leeds town centre in particular, it's been modernised now and it's unrecognisable from what it was when I was a kid. But it was a little bit dicey, so I can understand being a parent now. I can understand like I don't know. Would I let my son go into the middle of Manchester on his own? But I don't know. I let him walk around to Altrincham. So, but it was a Leeds game. I can't remember who we played. Honestly, for the life of me, I couldn't remember who we played. But I know it was exciting just to be allowed to go. But my parents had said, "Yeah, you can go with your mates now." We're like, "Oh wow, this is it!" Like you think you're in with the big boys. But it was a little bit intimidating. We're surrounded by all them people and all that noise. But I just remember the noise of the crowd, and because I've been obsessed with football since I was a kid, it was brilliant.
You get a bit of a rush and a buzz from the atmosphere when you attend as a fan.
Yeah, it's different. It's different when you go as a fan, especially growing up. It's different. It's like it's a cultural thing, is it? You go with your mates, you go into town on a Saturday, you get a McDonald's, you go to a match. You think you're in with the big boys, you're shouting and screaming and shouting at the players, and then you get the bus home, and you've got to be in for a certain time, so you're legging it because you've missed the bus and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, the noise. I remember the noise of the crowd was like, this is never been in that sort of enclosed area with that many people making that much noise. And Leeds is it's a one city club, and it's particularly noisy at that. Even when there's not so many people in there. Back in the day when I was watching, they weren't as successful as they have been in recent years. So, but it was still, a noisy atmosphere.
For you, when did you realise that you had talent as a footballer, or did you always think because your dad was professional, you always felt that was your path regardless?
No, I would lie if I said that I knew I was going to be a professional footballer. I wasn't that level that you're talking about. Your Messis and your Ronaldos and your Wayne Rooney's and all these people that people watch him and think, well, he's going to be a professional. I was never that. I was very small for my age. But I remember playing at school, and I'd play in the school teams, and we'd play on a Sunday, I'd play on a Saturday, and I'd score 3, 4 goals. Or playing for the county, I'd score 4, 5 goals, or something like that. And you think, I'm if I'm not the best, I'm one of the best in the school team. You're captain for the school teams, them sort of things. And it wasn't until because I was very small, like I said, getting towards the age of 14, 15, 16, I was still pretty small. I'm not exactly Peter Crouch now, but I grew a little bit. But I was getting to that 15, 16, 17 years of age, and I'd played a cup final for me, not my school team, a team I'd been playing for at youth football. And I played a final. We played at Ellen Road, and I played well. I hit the post, I didn't score. And then 2 other kids got asked for trials for Leeds, and I didn't get asked for trials, and I was like, I'm better than them. What's happened there, sort of thing. And then another lad that I played with in the same team got asked to go for a trial for Barnsley, and ended up playing for Barnsley under 16s or under 17s or something. And then it just clicked. I was like, that's better than him. What's all that about? And then it went from there, and then I kind of knew. And then I took a different path where I wrote letters off for trials at all the clubs. They didn't have any academies as such. They had youth teams, and I wrote off for trials, and the only answer I got was from I got 2 actually. It was from one from Barnsley, one from Huddersfield. I went to Barnsley and subsequently never went to Huddersfield, and did a couple of days trial and ended up signing for them.
What was that like? Does that sort of talk about your desire and your mentality to make it?
Yeah, I think at the time it didn't. At the time I just thought, I'm better than that guy. That guy's going to Barnsley, he's playing for Barnsley. I'm better than him. He's not even, he's nowhere near as good as me. I just thought, I thought, I'm not having that. And I sort of thought about it, and his father said, well, write for trials, because obviously it wasn't an academy sort of thing. And obviously the people at Leeds United had seen me when I was at Ellen Road, didn't ask me for the trial. In the end, they came back after that. But it was just a matter of fact, and I thought, and I knew, even at that age, oh, I'm better than him. So instead of writing the trials just to Barnsley, I just wrote all over the place. But it wasn't a fact that at that time, I want to be a professional footballer. It wasn't like I'm determined to be. It was just a matter of I'm better than him, so I should be able to play for that team. So I'm going to write and ask for a trial, not knowing, as you don't, at 16, 17, that's going to lead to something. But obviously it did, because like I said, I had a couple of days trial, and as it turns out, I was better than him.
Do you think, looking back now in hindsight, if you'd never wrote those letters, would you ever have got picked up for a trial?
That's a good question. I've never actually thought about that. That's a very good question. I think that there wasn't the avenues or routes that there is now. The academies and this and that. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, because that's a different subject. But there weren't as many not saying scouts because there were scouts about, but everybody's got eyes and ears everywhere now. Not a single player comes now that nobody knows anything about. It would be very rare for that to happen now, but back then it did. And I think probably people overlooked me a little bit, maybe because of my size. And like I said, after I'd signed for Barnsley, 2 weeks later, Leeds United came and knocked on the door. A fella called, God bless him, a fella called Peter, and he knocked on the door and said, "Oh, Gary, lad," and he said, "You're so late. You signed for Leeds." So that it shows you they were there, but they just weren't probably as efficient as now. But maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. I'd like to think I would, because I would have kept playing football, even if I'd have got nose, and even if the trial at Barnsley wouldn't have gone well. I'd have gone to Huddersfield, not gone well. I'd have kept playing football, and the way that I progressed, I think somebody would have seen me and think, okay, he's got enough ability to have a look at. So I'd like to think I would have, but I couldn't swear on it.
How long was there between when you sent off those letters to getting a reply from Barnsley and Huddersfield?
Oh, it was pretty quick, to be honest, because I think it must have been because I went for the trial in the school holidays, because a lot of teams back then they'd have in kids over the holidays. They'd have a look at them, training matches, training practices, and stuff like that. So it wasn't long at all. I think it was within a month, but it was within a month, and it got invited to come down. I got a letter to invite to come down, and Huddersfield as well. So yeah, I bet it was within a month. But I wrote to all the clubs. It wasn't like the Yorkshire ones. I wrote to every single one.
Did you ever get disheartened at all when you saw the other guys who you felt you were better than getting trials at these clubs? That month period where you're waiting, for a reply. Ever get
Mm.
disheartened at all?
I was upset after the Leeds, after the Ellen Road Cup final I played in, that we won, and I'd played well, hit the post, didn't score like I said. I was annoyed after that. I was upset because one of the players from my team and one of the players from the other team got asked for a trial down to Leeds United, because obviously the game's on their home pitch, so you think, okay, if you play well, they might ask, and they didn't. And I remember saying to him, "Dad, why didn't you ask me? I played real well, and I'm better. I'm better than them." And that's when he said it. He said, "Well, do something about it. Then if you're going to moan about it, do something about it." I was annoyed. I wasn't. I wasn't upset about, I wasn't getting edgy or anxious during that month, because you're 16, 17, you're still a kid. You think you might not be, but you are. So I was in sixth form. I'd have been playing football with my mates. So who was I playing for back then? Farsley Celtic. I was playing for 3 or 4 teams in a weekend, playing Sunday football and stuff like that. So I was probably just too busy playing football anyway to think anything about it.
Also, with your dad being a professional and playing a game as well, did he ever give you any advice that you still take away now to this day? Is there anything that did he try and help you at all with the clubs he played at or anything like that at all? Or was it always separate? Was it father and not so much a pushy sort of coach type role?
Never, never ever criticised me. Never. Just let me play. Which is why I get so, and I'll go on a different tangent, because I got so annoyed now when I see, because my lad plays, he's 12. I get so annoyed when I see the parents on the side trying to live vicariously through the lads and lasses playing, telling them what to do, telling them how not to do it, telling them to do it here, telling them to do it there, when they have got 0% knowledge of actually the correct thing to tell the kids. And they actually make them worse. So that's rant over. My father, no, I remember. I used to crave it. He used to, "Oh, Dad, how did you think I do?" Because he didn't used to come to watch all the games, because we didn't have transport, we didn't have a car, because we didn't have a lot. So we didn't have a car, so it was difficult. And I used to get a lift in with my mates' dads, and they used to ferry me everywhere. And they used to ferry me everywhere as well, because they knew I'd score some goals and all. So I always had a lift off somebody. But it was difficult for him to get to matches. But the matches that he did come to, he would just say, "Did you enjoy it?" I said, "Yeah." And I'd say, "What do you think of that?" I said, "Well, did you enjoy it?" "Yeah." "Well, that's it then." One thing he did sort of help me with was teaching me which part of the head to head the ball with, because a lot of kids back then and now don't know. I know there's a lot of research going on now, so you have to be careful. But back then, kids didn't know how to head the ball. I still wouldn't say I was an expert at heading it, because I wasn't great, but he taught me how to do it properly so I wouldn't hurt myself. So I've taught my son that. Consequently, when I watch him, he's probably one of the only kids in the team that knows correctly how to head the ball, so he doesn't get hurt, which is something that my dad told me. But for specifics and for coaching and for doing this and for doing that, he never really told me that sort of thing. He showed me how to protect myself, because he came up in an era when, he tackles could be tackles. And he showed me where to put my body and protect myself when somebody was going to top me and sort of things. And he said he'd learnt very quickly at Leeds United that you get your retaliation in first, as the Leeds players used to say. But I wasn't really that sort of player anyway. So, yeah, but like I said, he just... If at some points I did crave it, and he just never give it. But now I know why. Now I know why, because he could have said, what I was doing wrong and what I was doing right, but he just wanted to let me play. And like I said, I just played constantly. I played for 3, 4 teams in a weekend. When I was 14, 15, 16, I was forever doing it. But no, he didn't give anything of that sort. And I'm glad, really, now. I'm glad.
You probably brought out the best of you and your ability as well by just leaving you and letting you enjoy it.
Yeah, because I just played. I mean, I wasn't coached till I was 17. I never ever received any coaching advice or any professional coaching advice till I was 17. But all the hours practicing that, I used to remember, I used to play on the hedge with the lads I grew up with. We'd go to the football field around the corner. We'd go out and wear our new kits on Christmas Day and smack it around in the field. I'd play headers and volleys. I'd be forever playing. Like I said, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Try and ask kids to do that now. And so we can't do that. We'll be fatigued or there'll be this. And I'm sure, man. It just doesn't play. So I think about the hours I played. I played football constantly from the age of 5, 6. And you just think that is, it's not being coached, but it's honing your skills. You're practicing and you don't even know it because you're just playing with your mates. That's all I did.
Absolutely. Let's go on to your professional career. So you started off at Barnsley, as you mentioned there.
Mm.
Had a good time at Barnsley. Got them promoted in '97 to Premier League. What was that feeling like to get promoted into the Premier League?
Uh, Hard to put to words, really. And the longer it's gone after it, the more you realise what an achievement it was. Because at the time, I played a lot in that team, but I wasn't every week. And being young and inexperienced and naive, well, I should be playing every week. I'm going to leave and blah 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 blah. But I'm glad that I didn't. But I was just headstrong and I didn't know any better. Like you don't when you're that age, you don't know any better. You're full of it. You're full of yourself. You think you're the best. You're not, but you think you are. And so I probably was a little bit headstrong then and probably said some things to some people that I shouldn't have said. But when I look back, it's amazing. Like I said, growing up in the middle of a council estate in Leeds, playing, kicking a ball around, headers and volleys on the hedge. Next thing you know, you blink and you're scoring against your home team. I scored against Leeds United in the Premier League. And, if somebody told me would have done that, or somebody had said anybody, you're going to do that, you'd be like, shut up, man, you know what you're on about. So it was amazing. It was just an amazing time. Amazing time for the town, amazing time for the team, the players. And like I said, I get asked sometimes to speak on podcasts like this, and I still speak to a couple of the guys from the team. I did a charity thing back there in Barnsley the other week, raising money for a hospice, and it's always nice. And people think a lot of you. You actually forget how much happiness and joy that brought to those Barnsley supporters in that, especially the year we got up. And the year we were there, we weren't good enough, quite clearly, because we got relegated, but we had some fantastic times and memories. And it always surprises me how much joy and happiness it brings to people. And then when I speak to people about it, Barnsley fans are like, oh my, so much. Amazing times.
Did you ever feel like when you got to the Premier League with that promotion there, do you ever feel like I've made it now? This is it. This is the pinnacle. I'm here.
No, I never thought of that at the time, because pretty quick we realised that we weren't. Pretty quick. We got beat 7 at Old Trafford, 6 by West Ham, 5, 6 by Chelsea. Lads, these guys are playing a different sport, and I never ever felt like that. I always used actually the opposite as a motivation to think I want to play for it, to keep playing, and I want a new contract, and I want this, and I want that, and I want to keep playing. I think if you think that, you're in a very dangerous place, and I think if you think that in a place like Barnsley, you get it kicked out of you, mate. If you would have acted like that in that team with those players that we had, Neil Redfern, being the captain and the coach anyway, the youth team coach that we had that brought players like me through, Nicky Eden, Eddie Moses, Chris Morgan, Scott Jones, Dave. The list is endless. If you would have thought like that with that guy, forget it, mate. Forget it. You'd have been. You just never would have done it. You just got stamped out of you so quick. Your feet wouldn't have touched the floor. So no, I can pretty much. I never thought of that. Even when I watched myself on Match of the Day, which was amazing, I never thought that. Oh, this is it. This is the big time. I've made it. In the Premier League, it's different, but nah, I never thought that in my life, really.
How eye-opening was it to see the next level when you got to the Premier League? And like you say, you was losing quite heavily. And when you're playing against these big teams who have been mainstays in Premier League, like Man United, your Chelsea's, your Liverpool's, etc. What was it like to see that, and how much of a shock to the system was it?
The biggest shock to the system to me was how big they were, how big they all were, how big, how powerful, how strong. Not fit because we were fit. I'd like to think I was a particularly fit player, but the size of them was incredible. Like people like You're standing next to, one minute you're watching him on the television, next minute I'm standing next to Dennis Bergkamp in the tunnel. He's huge. He is huge. He's 6'2". He's built like a tank. There's not an ounce of fat on him. He can probably hold 2 or 3 players off by himself. And I remember me and the other lads that came through the youth team, particularly Nicky Eden, I'm good mates, who stood next to David Ginola. He's huge. He is huge, powerful, massive, muscly guys, big and strong. Were like the size of these. That was the thing that really shocked me to start with, because you don't get a feel of that on the television, and you don't get a feel of that when you're watching them on Sky and Match of the Day and whatever else you're watching them. You don't get it when you stand next to them and you're on the field. They are so big, so powerful, so quick. That was a real eye opener for us. And then obviously they can do that, and they can obviously do what they want with the football. So at Barnsley, we didn't have that package. We had some very good players that maybe were lacking in something else. So we had some players that could, do other things, but we didn't. We weren't a team that had all them players, and that's why they're the best. That's why they cost the most money. That's why they get Brewster's millions now, because they've got all that package. We didn't have it. We got relegated because subsequently we weren't good enough as Premier League players, but it was a fantastic year. But that's the first thing I remember. We played West Ham in the opening game, and I remember seeing the size of them, thinking, oh my God, these guys are huge. And then you go Arsenal, huge, Liverpool, huge, Chelsea, huge, really, really big, powerful players.
We mentioned Liverpool there. One thing I was doing my research and it came up when you're playing at Barnsley was a game at Anfield. You was brought down by David James in the box. And these days, you see players go down with barely any touch at all and go down and want the penalty. For you, you was brought down, but you got back to your feet. You had that desire to get that goal. The penalty wasn't enough for you. You wanted to go out there and essentially win that for yourself, and you got the assist, and it was a goal. Why did you get back? What went through your mind at that time? Did anything, or was it just a case of keep playing until the whistle goes?
No, I distinctly remember that. Somebody asked me this exact same question the other day at the charity gig I did for the hospice, for the Barnsley Hospice. Somebody asked me this question, and there's an easy answer to it. The goalkeeper touched the ball. When I went round David James, and he did catch me, but he touched the ball first. And because of our youth team upbringing with the coach Eric, if you dived, or if you couldn't play on, or if you feigned injury, you were going to get some punishment. I tell you, it was you just, if you dived around in training, if you faked injury, right, get off training ground, get your trainers on. We're all running, and so it was in my mind, and I remember it distinctly. The keeper touched the ball. I've gone down, but I need to get up because I need to play on, because that's how we were brought up in that team. We didn't dive around, you didn't roll around. You got up and got on with the game, and it probably would have been a penalty if I'd have stayed down, but I wasn't. We weren't brought up like that. We were brought up to play on. Unless you're physically hurt and you can't, you get up, get off your backside and you play on. And I think the assist probably went to Patrick Berger because I put the cross on his toe and I don't know what he did with it, but I'm glad he did it. And that was a great day. I mean, going to Anfield to win 1-0 wasn't so great on the way home when they bricked the bus, but it was a great day that year.
Do you look back on that and feel any pride that you got back on your feet and carried on playing to how you was taught to play when you was a youngster?
No, I don't feel pride. It's just that's the one of the main factors of Barnes' success was Eric Winstanley. He was a youth team coach, and then he moved up to the first team coach. And then when he was in the first team coach, we got promoted to the Premier League because he had a lot of players that he brought through that cost nothing, that were brought up correctly, that were taught to play professional football as professionals, not dive around and roll around on the floor and hold your face when somebody's kicked you on the ankle and fake this and fake that. We weren't brought up like that, and we were told this is how you do it. It wasn't a question and answer coaching style. It was a democracy. Do it like this, or you're not playing. Do it like this, or you'll get punished. So we just did it. So it was just second nature to us. You won't find many. You probably find everybody from my era in that youth team that came through to play for Barnsley. Nick Eden, Dave Watson, Mark Burton. I'm going to forget some names. I have to apologise. Chris Morgan, Scott Jones, Eddie Moses, all these guys. We all did the same because you either did it or you didn't play. So it was pretty simple, to be honest. People make it very hard these days. It was very, very simple in those days. Do it like Eric says, especially if you've come up the youth team, or you're going to get it.
1998, moved to Wigan. You won Player of the Year awards. You obviously became the top goal scorer for the club as well. What are your fondest memories of playing for Latics?
Oh, so many. There's a lot there. I really enjoyed the first season I was there at Springfield. It was the last season at Springfield, and that was was some stadium that was. And I remember, we were just get into the playoffs and we got knocked out of the playoffs, and then you get in the playoffs again, you get beaten. You thought, but I never thought we wouldn't make it because we had Dave Whelan, the chairman, that was determined to make it. And then especially when Paul came, when Paul Jewell came, it all changed. We'd got so close before that with Ray Mathias and John Benson, God rest his soul, who was responsible for bringing me to Wigan. And then Colin and Brendan were taking over. But then when Bruce Rioch, but when Paul came, you knew that we were probably going to get it done because, like, you know, Dave and Paul together as a combination were ruthless in what they wanted, and they got rid of a lot of players. Luckily, I survived it because I love playing for them, and there was a lot of good memories. Getting promoted was a good memory. Selfishly, obviously, breaking Lowy's record was a good memory, but there's so many memories. It was very hard to pick one out. I could probably pick out the upsetting moments better because you remember them. But the upset when we got beat at Gillingham in the playoff final was horrendous. It was awful because I really thought we were going to do it. I thought we were a better team. We were a better team. And it was just unfortunate on the day we couldn't get it done, but it took a bit of time to get over that. That was bad, that one.
How do you get over the lows?
Good question. I think you have to be resilient. I think if you go into professional football and think that everything's going to be roses and chocolates, then you better get ready for that one because there's far more disappointments than there is successes, far more. And you have to get over them. You have to be resilient. You have to be mentally strong. People use that word. You just have to be resilient. You have to have the desire and the determination to go again the next season, and go again the next season, and just go again and put your body and mind through some tough times because it is tough. People think it's easy. I'm not saying it's tough like working down a coal mine for 12 hours, but it's tough. It's a tough business. It's a ruthless business. It's dog eat dog. People, everybody wants to take your punishment to play. Everybody wants to take your place. Everyone wants to give you a bit of advice about this, about that. It's difficult to trust people. It's a ruthless business. So you have to be very, very resilient as a player to play a certain amount of games, and for different teams, different managers, different coaches. You're being judged every day. But I think resilience is probably the resilience and determination and desire are probably the things that get you through those bad times because there's a lot of upsetting times in it.
You said there's more lows and highs in professional football.
Mm.
For you personally, did the lesser highs outweigh the more lows?
No, I tried to. There was that, like I said, the main low times are the injuries because the injuries are very lonely. And as a selfish person, as a player, which you should be to a certain degree, they're very lonely. The injuries. I broke my leg. I did an Achilles injury 3 times, which were the most severe ones. They're lonely times. They are. But I'd say probably the highs when you have them, when you look back, because when you're in it at the time, it's very hard because you think, right, on to the next, and then, but when you look back, you think, oh, the highs of Barnsley getting to the Premier League, getting promoted with Wigan, playing for Sheffield United, getting to the Cup quarterfinals, playing with Oldham and getting to the last team to get in the playoffs. I think I was part of the last team to get in the playoffs, actually. Real good times, and you look back fondly on them with the memories. But I think that overall, as a professional footballer, I can't speak for all the others. Myself as a professional footballer, I've wrung out the most out of my talent because I wasn't the double step over, take it down the wing, beat 4 people and bend it in the top corner. I wasn't. But what I was a very committed professional. I got myself as fit as I possibly could, and I got the most out of any talent that I did have. So, the lows and the highs, you can take them both. I think when you retire and you finish playing, when you look back, if you can say that, I think that that goes a long way. That.
You mentioned about Paul Jewell, and you say when he came on board, you felt like you just knew that the promotion was going to come after a few disappointments. How big for the team is that mentality and that, just I suppose that thought process, thinking that belief in your manager, saying, yes, this is the man who's going to bring us up. How big is that for a team?
It's big. It took some time because I think we all hated him to start with because he used to make us run like I've never run before in my life, and I was pretty fit. But oh my God, he came in and we were running up, doing the canal runs part. Oh God, it was horrible. We hated him like he would do. But the longer he was there, obviously, got to know him. He's a great guy, great person, actually. More importantly than a football manager, because all the players that had problems, which we all have our problems in life, he would help anybody as a manager. He was really good, but he just took a bit of time because we had some players there that were obviously not wanted, but you just can't get rid of players like that. So you have to run contracts down or pay people off. And just the signings he was making, John Filan, Ariane Dazoo, you keep going through it. Ian Brecky, Nicky Eden, Nicky had followed me from Barnes. We've got Nathan Ellington, Jason Roberts, Jimmy Bullard, people like that. The signings he were making with the people that could run basically as well. We were a very fit team. Paul got his team very fit. Obviously, by running us a lot at the start, but training was hard as well. Training was harder sometimes than the games because we would just go at it in training, and we would have these little punishments for the team that lost. So you didn't want to be on the team that lost in training, never mind in a game. So it would come through in a game, and we just blitzed through League One. I mean, we just ran over everybody, and then Championship, we lost on the last day. We got knocked out, but then after the season I left, they got to the Premier League, and it was only a matter of time when Paul was there that they were going to get there. But a lot of the guys were, they worked very hard for Paul, but you didn't have no choice but to work hard for Paul. They wouldn't, as with most good managers, they won't take the fact that, hear stories about now he's not training as hard as he should. Or what? I can't believe that managers take that. He's not training as hard as he should. Asking him to. I just don't understand it. And after working with managers like Paul, like Danny, like John Sheridan, and managers like this, it's just I've never heard it. He's not training as hard as he should. He used to train like demons because that's what it takes. But that's how we train with Paul anyway. Definitely the fittest team I played for. Definitely the fittest team I played for was the team with Paul Jewell. We would just run over teams. We had some good players as well, obviously, but we could run over teams.
You mentioned a name in there, Jimmy Bullard. So it brings me on to a question. Who was the biggest or funniest character in the dressing room you ever shared?
Oh, Jimmy was funny, yeah, but Jimmy was crazy funny. It was like he'd do some things, you're like, oh my God, he's going to hurt himself here. It was crackers. But we had a few dry ones in that change room. Nicky Eden's a dry fella. He's got a good sense of humour. And Paul was funny as well, to be honest. Jags was funny. As a manager, he was a funny guy. He could kill you with a quip. And John Sheridan was the same. He was funny when he would be berating players. He was a funny manager, he was a guy. But Jimmy was. But Jimmy's antics that he used to go up to, some of the stuff you couldn't repeat it anyway. But he was. But people forget he was a flipping good player. Jimmy he was a very good player. He's a good footballer. I'm not sure he would play in one position in his whole life because he just ran around the ball and ran around the football pitch like a speedboat with no driver sometimes. But he was a very good technical player. To say there was zero on him, like you'd see him stripped off. How can he be a footballer? No muscle at all, just bones everywhere. But he could run as well. He was another one. Olympic level fit athlete. Jimmy was. People forget that about him before his injuries. He was extremely fit. He could run and run and run all day long. Jimmy could.
Very good player indeed. After Wigan, went to Sheffield United. You mentioned the cup run there. What did the cup competitions mean to you?
I loved it. I loved playing in the FA Cup. It was great. As a kid, it's what I grew up on. There's another memory watching the Arsenal 79, I think it was, Arsenal Man United 1979. I remember vividly watching that as a kid, 6 years. I'd love to go out and play football on the gates and be the FA Cup final. And I loved it as a kid. Playing in the cup was something I really enjoyed. And we had a really good run that year with Sheffield United. We knocked West Ham out, scored in that one. We got Arsenal. We knocked Aston Villa out. Scored 2 in that one, and we had a really good run in the cup. It's just a shame we couldn't repeat that in the league because Sheffield United had a good team. But after leaving Wigan and then going to Sheffield United, I realised the difference because the Wigan team, like I said, we could run over a lot of teams, and the Sheffield United team just didn't have that level. We didn't have that level of athletes in that team, and nothing against the players. It's just how it was, and it was. I really enjoyed the cup games. The Arsenal game in particular was unfortunate getting beat on penalties, but the Villa and the West Ham games were great. And the atmosphere at Bramall Lane, the players will tell you that have played for Sheffield United. I played for them for 1 year, but the atmosphere when you run out there and there's a big crowd, a full crowd, some atmosphere playing at that stadium.
What is it about the FA Cup and lower league teams? Recently we had Maidstone go away through quite far. This season, Plymouth Argyle on a great run, beating 3 Premier League teams. What is it about the FA Cup and the lower league teams that they just flourish and all league form goes out the window?
I think it's that underdog mentality where they've got nothing to lose. They're just underdogs. Like you said, these teams that have knocked people out. I think as well nowadays, not so much back when I was playing, although teams were starting a little bit, but not so much. Now it's the weakened teams that the Premier League teams put out, or the Championship teams, perhaps sometimes even teams in League One do it in League Two. They'll play some players, and you think if they're playing the big boys, you don't do it. But you'll see the non-league teams play against League One teams, and the League One rest them. And I know why they do it. They do it because there's so many games. But you do that, you weaken your team a little bit, and it's underdog mentality. The teams come up the National League, and those guys are full time anyway. Like I said, I go to watch Altrincham every other Saturday. They're full time. The National League's a fifth league, basically. It's a professional league. So the levels between them are not that much. And you watched Plymouth play Liverpool, and Liverpool are playing their so-called reserves, but they're still international players. But Plymouth are playing like their lives depend on it. And they're playing the style of football against the Premier League that they don't come up against. Premier League teams don't come up against people that launch balls into the box, that play channel balls, that get the ball into the box quickly, directly, and try to challenge him physically and put him on the backside, and everything's not. And the referee's a little bit lenient as well. But it's mainly that underdog mentality. Definitely when you're playing non-league teams, but also when you're playing the Premier League teams and they change the team, that also adds into it as well.
Do you think, I don't know if you've ever been involved in it yourself, but do you think the lower league teams will see a Premier League team rest players, bring out little reserve teams, some youth players, and almost take offence at that?
I don't know if they take offence. I can't remember if I've been involved in it. I remember when we were at Oldham, we played a team called Chasetown, and that was very difficult. We drew away. It was live on BBC. We drew away from home and then thrashed them at home. But I think, we played. Canvey Island knocked us out one year at Wigan, and that was horrible. Canvey Island came to Wigan and knocked us out. That was a horrible feeling. But I don't know if it's offence. I think it's just they're quite happy that they've done it, because obviously if you think back, if Plymouth Liverpool take that game, if Liverpool play their first 11, I don't think Plymouth are beating them. I think Plymouth would probably be the first to admit that. So it gives you a better chance. So you're quite happy when you do it, because as much as you think, oh, I want to be on the field with Van Dijk, but if you play on the field with Van Dijk, you won't touch the ball if you're the centre forward. He's that good. So it's easy to say, oh, I want to play against him. Well, do you really? It's like when we went to some of the Barnsley games we played, I can't wait to play at Old Trafford. We get beat 7-1. I can't wait to play it wherever it is. Get beat 6-0. Oh, I didn't enjoy that. So if they'd have played their weakened teams, they'd been, oh, great, they're playing the weakened teams. They haven't got the best team out. We've got a chance. So whether or not they take offence, I won't be too sure about that. I just think you look at it and think, oh, God, I've got a better chance now. Van Dijk's not playing, or Salah's not playing, or Rooney's not playing, or Bergkamp's not playing, something like that. When they're all on there, you kind of go, oh, God, they're all playing. And it can end in a cricket score.
Uh, End of your career, Oldham Athletic, then Rotherham United. Talk to me about the latter part of your career. How difficult was that in terms of training as well and keeping your body fit? You mentioned injuries earlier.
Yeah, it wasn't until I probably 34, 35 when I started finding it a bit more difficult in pre-season. I'd always been up at the front in all the teams where I was in the pre-season running, because obviously in them days you used to do a bit more running than they do now. I'd always been at the front, and I was about 34, 35, and I remember going back to Oldham one pre-season thinking, oh, I'm not near the front here, and I'm trying as hard as I was before. I was kind of in the middle, and it was, the Achilles injuries, the surgeries had probably taken the toll. And that was, it wasn't hard, it was just different. I was just doing the best I could, but like we all do, unfortunately, get older, and my body wasn't being able to do what it could do. But my latter years, I really enjoyed them. I loved playing for Oldham. It was great. 4 years there, we won with Ronnie Moore, who brought me there, so I'll always be thankful for that for him. And then I played for John Sheridan for more or less 3. Joe Royal was very briefly, but I had a great time at Oldham. We had a good team, some good players there, and I loved playing in that stadium. We had like I said, there's been a lot going on at Oldham in the recent past, but I was back at the stadium. He invited me to a game the other week there, and I really enjoyed being back and seeing CEO Alan Hardy, and had some great times there with some real good players, some younger players. And John Sheridan was a really good manager. Tommy Wright, assistant, Lee Duxbury, Lee Nobes, who's the physio at Liverpool now, was the Man City Liverpool physio, started with us. So it was. I really enjoyed playing for Oldham. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
I want to talk about international football as well. You represented Scotland under 21s. What was that like wearing the Scotland shirt, but also going away in camp, away from your club mates and mixing it with other people and other players?
It was brilliant. I mean, it was the feeling I'd get, because obviously my accent's not Scottish. Obviously, I'm speaking loud Yorkshire. But I was my father was Scottish, and if I ever got the chance to play for Scotland, I was always going to take it. And I remember one of the Scottish guys that played for Barnsley, a gentleman called Owen Archdeacon. He used to play for Celtic, and he just pulled me one night. We're playing Oxford away. I'll never forget. And he said, "Do you well to have a good game tonight, Andy?" I was like, about as you do. And then after the game, he said, "Oh, the Scotland under 21 scout was here tonight." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I think they're going to call you up." I was like, "Oh my god!" Anyway, they did call me up, and it was amazing. Standing with your Scotland kit on, with the Flower of Scotland playing, and we had a good team, a really good team. We got to the semi-finals of European Championships, played up front with Dougie Freedman and people like Charlie Miller, Neil McCann, just real good players. Christian Daly, good proper that were Celtic and Rangers players up there. So I really enjoyed playing for Scotland. I enjoyed every minute of it, and it was very proud actually when we played up in the Scottish stadiums. We played at Hibs and stuff like that. Man, I've got a big Scottish family, and they all came to watch, and it was. I'm sure it was a proud moment for them as well. It was a really proud moment, and I really enjoyed it.
2002, you played with the senior squad for Scotland behind closed doors.
Mm.
What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was interesting. Bertie Vogts called us up to be. It was a Scotland B team or Scotland Future squad. I think I was 29 or 30 or something. I'm thinking I might be the oldest here. It was. He was an interesting guy, Bertie Vogts in the training, but I enjoyed it. Listen, when you can see when you train with and play with better players, it makes you better. So I'd gone on that, and I was really hopeful that I'd get called up. I never did, which was a shame for the full team. But no, I really enjoyed it, but it was different. But you can see the levels of the players as well. Like you said, the players I was playing with were Scottish Premier League players, and you could see the standard was very good. And I held my own in it. I more than held my own in it. So I really enjoyed that experience. It was really good.
Was you disappointed not to get a full senior call up after that, especially?
Yeah, disappointed. Maybe. I thought I might. I thought I might get called up for the full squad because I'd done well. Obviously, I was playing a striker, and I remember the games and the training games we were playing, and I was scoring plenty of goals. I was more than holding my own. And but like at the time, you just think, oh, well, I didn't get a call up. It's on to the next match, on to the next season. Never really thought anything of it. It wasn't like I should have been called up. And I never really thought of it like that. And it was, no, it was one of them end of season things as well. I thought I might get called up for a tournament, but I didn't. And so never really thought that much of it. It wasn't like I should have been called up. What are you doing? No, not really. It was absolutely fine.
So after you hung up your boots, you went into coaching and specifically fitness coaching
Mm,
all around the world, England, Israel, Romania.
mm.
Talk to me about those experiences and traveling as well, seeing the different cultures and how the other teams set up in other countries. What was that like?
It was brilliant, to be honest. Like I said, I was fitness coach at Ipswich first with Paul because obviously my old manager Paul was down there, and I really enjoyed working with Paul down at Ipswich. I'll be forever grateful for him for asking me down there and giving me that job. And Paul left. Things weren't going so well, and Paul left, and then Mick McCarthy came in, and then you couldn't wish to work for a better guy. Paul was brilliant, but Mick was also brilliant, and really great guy. Him and his assistant Terry Corner, just two proper nice and decent human beings. Firstly, so I worked for them for 6 years. So family lived down in Ipswich, which is a beautiful place, great place to live. Mick left Ipswich. I knew what would happen to Ipswich because Mick left Ipswich. I knew they'd get relegated, and they did. Anybody that was working inside that club and could see that was going to happen, he just was spinning so many plates that when he left, the plates were all crashing at the floor, and they did. So we made the decision to move to Portugal. So the family moved to Portugal in 2018. Mick got the Republic of Ireland job shortly after, asked me to go there. Great experience, great job. And as a squad of players, amazing guys. Seamus Coleman, one of the, if anybody ever says anything about Seamus Coleman, it's always in a positive manner. Everybody says what a great guy. He's a great pro. Brilliant working with those guys. And again, seeing the level of those guys was interesting. Really good players. Got to see him at work against some really good teams. Denmark stands out. The 2 games against Denmark I watched, amazing. That finished, and then the next opportunity I got really was in Tel Aviv. Robbie King called me and said, "Do you want to come to Tel Aviv? You haven't got long to decide. I need to know in the next day." One day to decide, which was interesting. It was I had a great experience. What's happened out there is obviously, awful on all sides. It's just awful. But went out there in 23 June, I think it was, and then the war happened, unfortunately, and I just felt that I just couldn't go back. Family made the decision that I just couldn't go back because I think some things, to me, only my personal choice. Nothing against the lads that went back. Everybody makes their own personal choices in life, but I just didn't feel like I could go back, and it was a shame how everything happened. And they won the league, they qualified for Europe, and I knew that they would because Robbie was very good, and the Israeli players are top level professionals. Their level of professionalism was outstanding. They loved football. The fans were the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Goodness me, talk about passionate. They were crazy. Fireworks before the game, and the atmosphere was like something else. And Tel Aviv was a really, really nice place to live. And it was a beautiful place, beautiful country. So yeah, and that ended. So it was back to Portugal, and then through sort of contacts between myself and Neil Lennon, and we ended up going out to Bucharest, which was not really supposed to talk about it in public, to be honest, about what happened to us and how we were treated. So I'll have to plead the fifth on that one because there's a non-disclosure agreement on that one. Asked by them to sign, not us, by the way. Asked by them. It was interesting, should I say? Put it this way: I won't talk about the football and the stuff that was going on, but I had a great experience there. Bucharest is a lovely place. I really enjoyed working with Neil, who was a very, very good manager and a very good person, most importantly. And Kiri, the analyst, and Ian Brunskill, the coach, is as well as Terry Connor, probably one of the best coaches I've ever seen on a training ground. Amazing what he was doing with the guys and how we were making them better, and how he was, his training sessions, his mannerisms with the players. He's really, really good coach. So yeah, and then that finished after 6 games. No comment as to why, like I said, and I find myself I'm back in Altrincham now between jobs, so I'm just sort of waiting for opportunities and hopefully getting gainful employment in some industry. If that's football, great. If it's not, then it's not. But like I said, it's a little bit difficult at the minute being out of work, but I'm hoping to find some sort of gainful employment. So that's a brief career history of the last 6 or 7 years.
What's it been like in terms of the training side? Obviously, you joined some great managers and coaches, and
Yeah,
you saw the training side of it from a coaching perspective. How different has training and changed since you started in the early 90s?
good question. How has it changed? It has changed because more people are getting involved, which is not always a good thing. Uh, as a manager and a coach, the coaches on the field, they are in charge. They are the ones that determine how fit the players are, how organised the players are. So you can have as many support staff as you want. I'm a fitness coach myself, but my impact on the team is very limited, as any other fitness coach's impact is. And any other fitness coach or analyst or sports scientist or anything else will tell you how important they are. I'm sorry, but the most important people are the players. The next most important people is the manager and the assistant, and they are the people that determine the culture and the fitness and the training and everything of the team. And if you've got those things in place, if you've got all them things, you've got a really good chance of having a good work ethic in training, because that's what it is. It's work. And I think where it's changed quite a lot is the rest and the recovery sort of protocols that they use now. Whereas, the day after the game, I can remember many a time at Barnsley, and not so much probably many a time at Barnsley when we were kids and younger players. If you lost on a Saturday, you could get your trainers out on a Sunday, and you'd be running, especially in the youth team, and you wouldn't be doing that anymore, which is a good thing, but it brings you up differently. So I think there's a lot more modalities for the players now. I think they've got a lot more knowledge. I sometimes think that's not improved. I think that people are making niches for themselves, and people are making their what's the word, their position or their more self-importance is on it, rather than what's good for so-and-so. I'm just taking a back seat. Everybody wants to tell everybody how much they've played in this scenario, or the set piece coach has done this, or the first team rehabilitation fitness coach has done this, or this has done this, this has done this. Everybody's very coming forward and telling you how good they are, or how important they are, when I have to tell you they're not really. It's a business. People have created businesses for themselves and very good jobs at very big clubs on the back of that. But when it comes back to it, the game is still the game that I played, and it still is, and it still will be in another 10 or 15 years because it all goes around. It's cyclical, and the training methods that we used before will be used again. And these, I see that, all the things about all the possession based, all Pep's football's dead and the possession based football's dead. It's not. It's just people work teams out, and they work different training methods out, and they work different ways to stop the opposition. So it's got more staff involved in the training side of it, and sometimes I'm not saying that's wrong all the time. I'm not, but sometimes there's just too many people trying to get involved in something that their knowledge is very little of. Is probably the most polite and correct way to say it.
Do you think, in your opinion, football is in a better place now than it was in, say, the 90s when you played?
Depends in what context you mean. What context do you mean? It is
Or
financially for the players.
for, let's say, for, academy, for youth players, for the next generation coming through now, is it
Mm.
a better place for the switch from grassroots to academy
Yeah,
to pro?
I think in some respects it is. The facilities that the academy's got are amazing. The Barnsley Academy. If I think about when I was in the U team, what we had, and I think about the academy now, what they've got, the facilities are amazing. But I don't think the players are better quality. I think that the U team that Eric produced on no facilities basically, and what the Barnsley FC Academy produces now, I don't think you would say that and I'm just saying that's one example because that's the only club that I've come through at. I don't think that they're a better quality. You'd have to ask somebody with more knowledge about them. I know that, safeguarding stuff and some of the stuff that, we had to do, the U team, because, running on a Sunday, like I say, after you've got beaten in a game and, keeping you there all day long and sort of some of the stuff that they'd say to us, you can't get away with saying that now. That's better. Obviously, that's better because you don't want that. Although it made us resilient and it made us want to do our jobs correctly. I can tell you that. But that's a good question. That I'm not sure the academy football system is the way to go, especially the under-23s at that level, because that level can be, nonsense. But until somebody comes up with a better answer, and I don't have a better answer. So who am I to criticise something there when it's easy to criticise somebody says, oh, that's not very good. Okay, we'll do something about it. Well, I don't know what's better. Well, keep your opinion to yourself then. So is it in a better place? That is a good question. Very good question. I think I'd need some more time to look on that. I don't think that the players that are being produced now are that much better than the players that were being produced when I came through. But the trappings and the rewards and the facilities and the treatment is much better. Yes, much better. All of that's much better. Is the quality better? Is the resilience better? Is the mental fortitude better? I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
I was going to ask you off that your answer there. Do you think the mentality's changed in young footballers these days? Is it now almost, I don't know if easy is the right word to get into academy
Mm.
football, but do you think the mentality has certainly changed from back when you, for example, you had to write letters, you had that determination, whereas now, is there any of that nowadays?
I don't know. I think it's very easy to tar everybody with the same brush. I'm sure that there's some kids in academies that think they've made it. I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there's plenty of kids that think, I want to be a professional footballer more than life itself. I'll do anything to do it. So I've seen examples of both. I know that I'm not sure that. Well, nothing can prepare you for men's professional football than playing men's professional football. An under 18s academy game, an under 23s academy game is not going to prepare you to play in men's professional football. It's a different world. It's a different sport, which is why it's brilliant when the academy guys and the 23s guys go out on loan to teams as quickly as they can, play men's football or women's football, whichever, senior football, play it because you'll see it and it's totally different. I watch some lads at Altrincham, the under 23s have come from, and you can see them. They sometimes they're like, oh, what is going on here? People are just different to me. So I think that to say that is their mentality changed? I'd like to think not. I'd like to think that that they love the game, and I'm not sure as many kids are obsessed with the game as we were back then. I'm not sure that. I'm not sure, but there's more of them. There's more things for them to do. There's more electronic handheld devices that they can't take the face from. and there's other things that are other attractions. But I think that, and that's why the best ones come through. You can see, for example, who could I think? Phil Foden at Manchester City. You can see he's been obsessed with football since a kid. You can see that without knowing him. You can see that. But it's hard for them to get through in Premier League teams because they've got so much money and they can just buy the best ready-made. So there's not that many of them come through. Underneath that, Championship League One, League Two, National League, I'm sure that their academies and some of the academy facilities are amazing. You go to clubs like Derby County, Norwich, Leeds, big clubs. The academies are amazing. Whether it produces players or not sure. You'd have to look through the figures and see who's produced what and where it's gotten. But I'd like to think that the players, the younger players, don't stroll around and think, "Oh, I've made it." By the way, some of the senior players think that as well. So it's not just some of the senior players that don't. I've played with a few of them, don't have that much ability, that think they've got a lot more than they actually have. So it's not just them that's afflicted with it, but it's academy system can breed that a little bit if it's not run by the right people. If it's run by the right people, it doesn't happen.
I'm a grassroots coach and I've got an under 14s girls team. And one of the players who I feel could go on to academy level is probably the least confident player on the team. How big does confidence play in football?
Well, in life, not just football, that one. That's in life because you can find yourself in some down moments. But especially when you're playing sport at an elite level, it's how do you get confidence? Where does it go when you lose it? How do you get it back? It's the £1,000,000 question. It's a difficult one, that one. I think a lot of that is resilience as well, because as a pro, you all have bad times. I've missed plenty of chances, made plenty of mistakes, and there's thousands and thousands of people judging you every Saturday or every Tuesday, whenever it is. And if you make mistakes and you lose your confidence, it's a very lonely place. It's a very lonely place. I remember Paul Jewell saying one of the most accurate things, when you're having a bad time and you're not confident and it's tough going and you don't want the ball to come to you, it finds you. So you've got to find your way through it. And he's right. The more chances you miss, the more chances you seem to get. And I'm laughing, but it's not a nice place to be. Everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody suffers from it, suffers from self-doubt, lack of confidence a bit when things are not going well. But you just got to keep going. You just got to keep going and just hope that it turns, and hope that it turns with the fact that you're training hard, you're doing your best, you're contributing to the team in whatever you can, and hope that you get that confidence back. And then when it comes back, try and keep it. It's be easy to sit here and say, "Oh, I know how to get your confidence back." People that tell you that, they're lying because their lips are moving.
And then just finally, we'll go through a few quick fire questions. Who's the best player that you've played with?
Played with on the pitch or in a team of mine?
Either.
Well, the best player in a team of mine was Jan Molby. He was a Liverpool midfield player that came on loan to Barnsley. The best footballing ability-wise, it was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I think I scored 2 goals on his. He made his debut. He was on loan from Liverpool. Scored 2 goals on his debut, and in training, he was just like, he just pass a ball, it would just be there. I'm like, how's that happened? He just made runs and the ball was there. It was absolutely amazing ability. He couldn't run, which was probably why Liverpool had loaned him out, but he was amazing. Best player I've played with on a pitch. Yeah. Best player I played with on the pitch would be Jan. Yeah, would be Jan.
Best player you've ever played against?
Somebody asked me that one the other day. It changes sometimes. I think that I played in the semi-final for Scotland under-21s in Spain, actually, against Spain. And there was a guy playing at the time he played for Barcelona at the time. He was called Ivan de la Peña, and he was playing for the 21s. And everyone was like, "Oh my god!" The whole stadium was singing his name, and this guy was doing things that I'd never seen before. It was incredible, and I'll never forget it. They beat us 2-1, I think, or something. But we had a good team. He was amazing. But then they're probably your stock answer of been on the pitch with David Beckham and Ryan Giggs and people like that. But maybe Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp was amazing for Arsenal. But when you're in the Premier League, there's so many of them. But Dennis Bergkamp was a cut above. He was outstanding.
What was the biggest pinch me moment of your career?
Yeah, probably watching myself score against Leeds United on Match of the Day. I think that's something that you well, 1 minute you're a 11-year-old, 3'4", scruffy, skinny little whatever from a council estate in Leeds, and next thing you look up and you're scoring against Leeds United at home in the Premier League. That's if that ain't a pinch me moment, I don't know what is.
Absolutely. Who is your favourite player ever?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I think that is a really good question. My favourite player ever. When I was a kid, I used to really like watching. Not that I played like him, but I really used to like watching Glenn Hoddle when he was playing. So I grew up in that era where it was Glenn Hoddle, Brian Robson, and they're kind of the. Do you know what I mean? They're kind of the names that I remember watching and looking. Think, oh my god, that was amazing. Like, he was amazing. Those players, Glenn Hoddle and Brian Robson, used to watch on the television. So it's probably one of those two players. But I did watch so much football, and it's like there's just loads of them. There's loads of players that I used to watch. Oh, he was good. But I remember them two doing things. You're like, oh my god, that was amazing. Watching back in the day on the television. So yeah, probably them two, Glenn Hoddle or Brian Robson, were amazing players. And as a kid of that age, you're impressionable, like, and you see him doing things, scoring goals and doing tricks and doing skills. You're like, oh god, I wish I could do that. You'd go out and practice. And I remember like I said, in the '80s when I grew up, it was probably those two.
When I say underrated, who comes to mind first for you?
I think a lad that I probably played with at Barnsley would be one of the most underrated players is Neil Redfern. I mean, he was amazing. He scored 20 goals a season for Barnsley, more or less every season from midfield. Many years before Frank Lampard was doing it, and not that I'm putting him in the same class as him, but he was very underrated player in the Championship, and he obviously we played in the Premier League, and he stayed in the Premier League as well. It showed you how good he'd been for us. So for Barnsley people, he wasn't underrated, but I think just for outside that, I don't think people realise how good a professional he was. I mean, he played over 1,000 games in professional football, for goodness sake. It was amazing. And he's gone on to be a manager and a coach and a really nice guy. But I would say probably not underrated in Barnsley, but elsewhere. I think what he's done and the career he's had, he's very underrated.
And the last one, who's your favourite player to watch now currently?
That's a good question. My favourite player to watch now is my son. He's 12 years old, and he's brilliant when I watch him. He's not, like I said, he's not dribbling past four players and putting it in the top corner. He's not at all, but he's wholehearted. He plays in goal. He plays centre back. He plays right wing. He plays right back, and he encourages his teammates. He runs around like a madman. Plays in goal. Gets it in the face with the ball. Never shirks anything. Unlike his dad, he's pretty brave in the tackle as well. So he actually is my favourite player. I get a lot of joy watching him, just standing there and watching him, because he loves playing with his mates. Um, but seriously, professionally, my favourite player. Everybody always has a debate, Ronaldo or Messi. I love watching Ronaldo. I don't watch him now. I don't mean Saudi Ronaldo. I mean previous to Saudi, because that guy's the level of professionalism and the level of attitude and commitment to make himself that good and that good every year in different countries, in Spain, in Italy, in England. For me, he's top notch. And I lived in Portugal as well, and I saw the commitment he gives for the Portuguese national team. The press conferences he used to give, which is important as well in the Portuguese press conference he used to do over there. He was always defending his country. He was always speaking up his country, no matter how much criticism he got, because he gets a lot over there. He divides opinion over there for some reason. I cannot understand why, but he does. But you see that guy, and he's all positivity, and he was very proud of his nation, very proud of his country. And then when you watch him play for Portugal, I'm lucky that one of my friends is the manager of Portugal, Roberto Martinez, an ex-teammate of mine at Wigan. And when he got the job, I remember, I messaged him and he got me some tickets for the game, and he said, he is exactly what you see he is on the television. Ronaldo, absolutely committed to 100%. And that's a great learning or great sort of role model or to watch for kids, to see if I devote my life to something and get the most out of it, there's no telling where it could bring. So I would say he was pre-Saudi, because the Saudi stuff's just, we know why everybody goes to the Saudi. It's not for the weather. So that's different. But the stuff he's done in the countries at different countries and an international level for me is that's why I think he's my favourite player.
Perfect. Andy, that's everything I wanted to ask you. Thank you very much for taking me through your journey. Been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much for your time again.
No problem, mate. No problem at all.